delighted to speak to Björn Kjellström, who is the head of the European Parliament's office here in London. Björn himself was trained in the US and at the School of Advanced Studies at Johns Hopkins in Bologna. Björn previously worked for the Swedish Foreign Ministry, for the European Commission, and before coming to London, he was the head of the European Parliament office in Stockholm. But, as Björn's website says, it all started with being a trainee in Brussels in 1992, 3 years before Sweden became a member of the European Union. So Björn, you're obviously still thinking about the beginning of your career, and we therefore think that you're really well placed to discuss the Brussels job market and working for the EU institutions for our student audience. Björn, from your experience of working in national capitals and in Brussels, what would you say is particularly challenging, particularly exciting? What are the pros and cons of working in Brussels, which our students should keep in mind when they are looking towards a career with the European Union?
Well, for me, being part of a unique scheme of cooperation, the European Union is quite unique in the world, and not the least the European Parliament, the only directly elected international parliament in the world, is something that I enjoy a lot myself. I know, and we know, that decisions made in the European Parliament has a huge impact on people's everyday life and the world around us. We also know that it makes a huge difference who makes those decisions on behalf of the citizens. 500 million plus citizens will be affected, positively or negatively, by the decisions made in the European Union. And to be a part of that, I think, is fantastic. Secondly, personally, I still get a kick out of getting into an elevator where 10 or 12 or 13 different languages are spoken. And this multicultural dimension of the working environment is extremely stimulating. You will never have the same view, really, on anything when the people are around you. Just look at this office. We're 12 people, we have 10 nationalities. It's a little bit like a choir. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is more than 3, because everyone approaches the tasks in a different way. At the same time, that can sometimes also be frustrating. Cultural differences do create frustration now and then. But the overall benefit from working in the European Union in this general respect is the fact that it is a unique project, it means a lot, it's a meaningful job. The multicultural environment is extremely interesting to myself.
Could you tell us a little bit more about how graduates can get a foot in the Brussels door to work for that exciting, stimulating, multicultural environment which you've just described? And are there any typical ways of entering the Brussels job market?
There are many ways into the institutions. Obviously there are the entrance exams, but most often before that people work either as trainees. There are two kinds of trainees, either general trainees or journalist trainees. They can work as MEP's assistant. They can work for NGOs in Brussels dealing with the European Union affairs. They can work via their national departments, national government and authorities, which now always more or less have a European section in them. So there are very many ways in. By the end of the day, if you want to become an official of an institution, you need to sit the exams. 2 days exams. 2 days exams, the first of them being in the capitals, and the second one based on interviews and case studies in Brussels. And but before you get there, you will probably have a better idea of where you want to go and what you want to work with.
What would you say are the most important qualities of an applicant in Brussels, both in terms of his or her academic background and the wider skill set?
When talking about the competitions, it is not important to know everything about the European Union, the facts and the figures. it's who you are and how well trained you are that makes the difference, really. So when sitting the exams, you will be tested on abstract reasoning, numerical reasoning, analytical skills, judgment, problem-solving capacity, and languages. So not specifically testing you on facts and figures. However, there are also special competitions for special functions, such as accountants, economists, communicators, engineers, buildings maintenance work, etc. But they are fewer than the general ones. When looking at the skills required for traineeship or for working as an MEP assistant, but then they can be much more specialized. I mean, if you work for a specific MEP who is sitting in a specific committee, he might need someone who is on top of everything that's happening within the transport sector or the environment sector or financial affairs. But for the next stage, a more general approach, problem-solving skills, analytical skills, numerical skills, communication skills, etc., would be the most important personal characteristics.
Are there any particular websites, any particular resources, any particular newsletters our students should regularly check or subscribe to if they would like to pursue a Brussels career?
There's one website, the epso website, which publishes every single post that's being advertised in the union, as well as informing about when these general competitions and specialized competitions will take place. So that is a good website to monitor regularly. I even think that you can enlist to a newsletter alerting you when there's a competition coming up.
Okay, so you've been talking about inside the EU institutions. What about outside the concours?
Outside the institutions, there is no such grant system in place. So you have to contact the political party, the political group, or the MEP that you would like to work with and present your case. There's quite a big turnover among MEP's assistants, for example. So you just have to well, it's up to you really to contact the members. For the traineeships, there's a procedure in place, applications being received twice a year, and the famous Blue Book for the Commission. There's no equivalent to that in the European Parliament, and but also finding yourself in the Blue Book is extremely good, of course. But also you can also contact MEPs, administrations, units, the institutions, and just make them aware of the fact that you're in the book and you're very eager to get the experience from working in their particular unit.
Okay, so obviously a lot of self-initiative is required from the applicants.
Quite a lot, like on any job market, really.
Our students are all doing master's degrees in the School of Public Policy at University College London. How do you think their degrees will help them on the Brussels job market, and would you have any advice to them on what to do during their studies to best prepare for the Brussels market?
Well, from what I understand, the degrees that you offer, sounds like an extremely good preparation for a career in the European Union institutions. On top of that, it's always in the European Union institutions extremely beneficial to have a third language. A third language, and possibly on top of that, to get to know yourself, what you are most interested in. Do you want to become a generalist, being exposed to different policy areas and different units and different tasks throughout your career? A lot of people do that. It's more like a diplomatic career. Or do you want to become a specialist? And if so, what is your field of expertise? Is it economics? Is it accounting? Is it foreign policy? Try to find within yourself what you're most interested in and what kind of career you want to pursue.
Björn, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.